Very good morning to all my viewers. I welcome you all for the morning session. Today I am with a new topic, a poem, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers from the textbook Flamingo. In this session, I would be dealing with the life of the poet. Then I would be talking about the gist of the poem, followed by the introduction of the poem, then the explanation. So let us begin with it. Adrienne Rich, she was an American poetess, a teacher, critic, political activist, and women's rights advocate. She was born in 1929 in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. She is recognized as one of the country's most distinguished poets. Her work, A Change of World, 1951, won the prestigious Yale Younger Poets Award. She is recipient of a number of awards, including Training Award for Mastery in the Art of Poetry in 1996, the Lennon Foundations in the year 1999, Lifetime Achievement Award, the Commonwealth Award in Literature, the National Book Award, etc. Her claim to fame were her feminist ideas and her wide involvement in contemporary women's movement as a poet and theorist. She has published 19 volumes of poetry, 3 collections of essays and other writings. Aunt Jennifer's poem consists of 3 stanzas, and each stanza is a quatrain. Children, as you probably know, a quatrain is a verse of 4 lines. Each of these quatrains is made up of 2 couplets. A couplet is a verse of again 2 lines and comes again from the same word known as couple. And the couplet has internal rhyme scheme. Children, I would like to tell you about the gist of the poem. This poem, it was written in the year 1951, which is long, many years ago it was written, around 70 years back, when women were not, given the freedom to enjoy their lives. They were bonded, they were tortured, they were put indoors, and during that period, men took all the decisions, and this period was known as patriarchy. Okay? Patriarchy means the male of the society were considered to be the head of the family, and all the freedom and power and authority the male sect enjoyed. Now, what is the gist of this poem? The poem addresses the constraints of married life. Okay, children? In this poem, number of, I would like to tell you, number of literary devices have been used And when we proceed ahead, understanding the poem in which the poet Adrian Rich has presented. So now, as you all know, children, we human beings are a bundle of emotions, feelings, sentiments, desires, and ambitions. So was Aunt Jennifer, but her married life and her extremely dominating husband did not allow her to vent out her pent up feelings and fulfill her desire and ambitions. So, what do you mean by dominating here? Try to understand this. To control, to influence, to have an upper hand. So, Aunt Jennifer's husband probably never tried to give her an equal hand in family affairs, would always control her actions and behavior, and would never give her space in the relationship. This means he was very dominating. That is, suppressing someone by oppressing. Her married life expected her to be a dutiful wife and fulfill her duties diligently. Children, I've used a refined English here rather than using the word hard work. I've used here the word vocabulary diligently. It means doing one's duty with dedication, with lot of hard work and care. Her feelings are manifested in her art, which she is embroidering a cloth with magnificent tigers on it. Why she is trying to sew tigers or stitch tigers? As you know, tiger is a symbol of courage, guts, fearlessness, boldness, radiance, beauty, and glory. And by sewing these tigers on the cloth, Aunt Jennifer is melting out her feelings, giving away an outlet to her desires. Now, what are her feelings, children? She wants to be as fearless, bold, dominating, full of glory, courage, honor, just like the tigers. With this, I would like to move towards the introduction about the poem. The poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers is clearly a feminist poem. It is critical of the male world for terrifying and oppressing Aunt Jennifer and causing her to create an alternate world of freedom which she inhabits only in her imagination. It is her way of escaping. The 3 quatrains, as I said, the 4-line stanzas or verses, expose the desolating effects of patriarchy. The struggle for existence and the deep conflicts of bondage have given rise to gender conflicts, indignities, etc. Aunt Jennifer in the poem is totally victimized, and the absent uncle, represented only by his wedding band, is all dominant and a figure of oppression. With this, I would like to move ahead towards the theme of the poem. As I said, it is a feminist poem and revolves around the theme of male chauvinism and gender conflicts. The theme of the victimization of the women by the male counterparts has been starkly brought about. What do you mean by starkly? A way that is severe or, harsh in appearance. Okay? STARKLY. It is a way that is severe or harsh in appearance. So, starkly it has been brought out in the poem, making it a forceful expression of the evils of patriarchy. Patriarchy is a system where father or the male has been considered to be the head of the family. All the decisions, all the important tasks of the family were undertaken by him. Aunt Jennifer is totally victimized and suffers the oppression of her male counterpart even though he is not present. His presence is reflected only by a ring. She is never able to liberate herself from the bondage of custom and law. Aunt Jennifer thus creates for herself an alternative world of freedom, one which she can inhabit only in her imagination. Aunt Jennifer's Tigers is written by Adrienne Rich. It consists of three stanzas. I mean to say the three, quatrains. Okay? Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen, bright topaz, denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek chivalric certainty. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. When Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. How beautifully, how geniusly she has reflected her, her emotions through this beautiful poem. Children, with this, I would like to continue with the explanation of the poem. As I told you, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers, it is a feminist poem and it is highlighting the norms of patriarchal society where the men dominated the women, and it was a terrifying and oppressing world for Aunt Jennifer. As she was victimized and terrorized, so she thus creates an alternate world of freedom through her art. Now, in spite of expressing her emotions through her artistic skills, even in this alternate world of imagination, she fails to liberate herself from the male domination. So, let me read here, children. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Now, Aunt Jennifer is longing to escape from this world, which she finds intolerable. Okay? And thus, what she does, through a marvelous tapestry, she creates, in which there are beautiful topaz tigers against a background of burdened green, which captures the life and color that so solely, missing in her own life. And thus her life is dull, boring, and that life which she wants to escape is what she pictures through her embroidery in her tapestry. See now here, Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Aunt Jennifer, she is stitching tigers. What is she doing? Aunt Jennifer, she belongs to a well-to-do family, and thus she is reflecting her desire by stitching prancing tigers on a screen. Now, what is a screen, children? What is screen? See, it is in the shape of a ring, round, and a thick piece of fabric is placed in it, and a design is woven on it, or a pattern of any design is embroidered on a cloth. Okay, screen is that. So what is Aunt Jennifer doing? Aunt Jennifer is stitching prancing tigers. Prancing tigers means those tigers that move by picking both their limbs. Okay? And she has created such tigers. And what is the color of the tigers? It is bright topaz. Bright topaz is a precious stone. Okay? It is a precious stone. The color of it is yellowish brown. And so are the tigers too. We know the color of the tigers too is somewhat yellowish brown. Now, they are the denizens of a world of green. The tigers, as you all know, denizens means, what do you mean by denizens? They are the dwellers. They are the natives. They are the residents of a world of green. When the word here is used as green, so what does it immediately, symbolize? It shows us the radiance, isn't it? Generally, when this word occurs, so what do we feel? We feel that it is green. It is associated with radiance, life, spring, rebirth. So this word green here is, they are these tigers that she has created. They are the residents of the forests. Okay, world of green means the forests. Okay, now let's read further. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. Now in the jungle, in the forest, who could be there? The men beneath the tree, maybe the hunters. See now here the line is T-H-E-Y. They do not fear the men. Who do not fear the men? Tigers. And tigers here symbolize, what do they symbolize here? Fearlessness. boldness, isn't it? They are the symbol of courage, guts, beauty, honor, glory. So why is she sewing or stitching or weaving such tigers? She is imagining, to lead a liberated and honorable life like that of the tigers. Okay? See here, they do not fear the men beneath the tree. Who do not fear? The tigers. Okay? And the men here reflect the hunters. There are a number of generally in the forest who visit the forest, the hunters. They go for hunting. So these tigers, they are so brave, they are so bold, they are so dominating, they are so fearless that they are not even terrified of the hunters who are sitting or the men who are sitting beneath the tree. Okay? But whereas Aunt Jennifer, she is terrorized, she is victimized. She's scared. She's scared of her husband. Isn't it? So what is this? This is just a contrast. This is just the opposite. It's a contrast. The device used here is the contrast. Now they pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. Who pace? The tigers. Pace means move. The tigers that she has stitched or sewed or weaved. She has created them in such a movement as if they are pacing, moving to and front and back. They are pacing in sleek. Sleek means in glossy manner. They are very smooth and glossy. Okay? They are very smooth. They are very glossy. Chivalric here means what? What do you mean by chivalry? Chivalry is an ancient knightly term. Okay? It was used for the knights, Knights. It is an ancient knightly term which means courteous treatment. Okay? Now, the tigers here, are symbolic to the men. So, the tigers have been compared to those knights who generally were very courteous. They had a very courteous feeling towards the women and they could go to any extent to save and protect the women. So that's the reason the word chivalric has been used in this first stanza. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. So now children, in these two lines, there's a device, literary device used, anaphora. What do you mean by anaphora? Anaphora means, consecutive, a same word used in two consecutive lines. I hope you got it, which is that the same word used in two consecutive lines. See here, they do not fear, and in the next line again, they pace in sleek chivalric certainty. In chivalric certainty, see here, which is anaphora here? They in the third line, the first word, and again they in the fourth line of the first stanza. So they, what did I say? Anaphora means anaphora, means the same word used in two consecutive lines, one after the other. Anaphora can be used in the beginning, it can be at the end of the lines too. Okay children, another device used in the first stanza is chivalric certainty. This is what? This is alliteration. C. Are you able to get it? What is this used here? Alliteration has been used here. initial alliteration has been used. That means same initial consonant sound. Okay? Chivalric, certainty. C. The first sound is the same. Okay? Now I told you certainty means with complete confidence, with dominance, with honor. So they pace the tigers Aunt Jennifer has created on a panel or on a screen. How are they? They are sleek. They are glossy. Okay? They are glossy. And they are chivalric. You know, chivalric is very dominating. They are very dominating here. And, you know, as I told you, the knights which have been used are brave warriors they were, you know, and they had, the quality of chivalry. It means that these warriors who showed great respect to women and, you know, they could go to any great extent of saving women from harm and danger. Okay? They could save women from any harm or danger. Got it? So, as I told you in this first stanza, the green color that stands for vibrancy, the vitality of life, and it can be used, it can be termed as, for spring season and even rebirth and rejuvenation. It is a comparison to Aunt Jennifer's life, which is dull and, colorless, whereas the first stanza of this poem is generally talking about the, how she is imagining her life, how she wants to live a life, a liberated life, just like the tigers. Thus, she is creating or stitching such tigers on the screen which are prancing. They are yellowish, brown in color. They are the natives of the green world who are fearless, brave, dominant. And she has used here the device, literary device, anaphora here. That means the same word used in, two consecutive lines. Okay? Now let's move on to the next stanza, which is again talking about Aunt Jennifer, who is terrified, of men or the dominance of her husband. What did we say? We are talking about the patriarchal society where the men were considered to be the head of the family. They had the authority and the power in their hands. All the decisions were undertaken by him. There was no space given to express or to take up any task bravely by the women of that period. So let's move on to the next stanza. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool. Now, what is Aunt Jennifer trying to do here? The second stanza is focusing on Aunt Jennifer's hands. That reveals she is feeble, nervous, terrorized, and thus she is not able to, pull the ivory needle when she was stitching or sewing the tigers on the panel. See here. Aunt Jennifer's fingers flutter. See, fingers do not flutter. Children, see, fingers do not flutter. Then what flutters? Come on, tell me. If fingers do not flutter, Then what flutters? The eyelids of the humans flutter. Okay? The eyelids of the women flutter. So while Aunt Jennifer was stitching the tigers on the panel, her fingers were fluttering through her wool. Now, children, I would like to tell you, fingers do not flutter. The butterfly flutters, or the eyelids of a woman flutter. Okay? Now, something that is strange in poetry, something that what is hard to pull, is termed as symbolic. You have to remember, anything that is strange in poetry that you cannot do, okay, something hard to do, that can be termed as symbolic. So here it is symbolic here. Fingers fluttering through her wool when she was knitting or stitching those tigers on the panel. Her fingers were trembling. Now I would like to ask you, why her fingers were trembling? Why were her fingers trembling? It was due to the fear. Okay? It was due to the fear. Her fingers were, trembling. Thus, she is finding even the ivory needle hard to pull. I hope you know what is ivory. Ivory is here, the tusk of an elephant. Needle is very thin, children. How can a needle be very difficult to pull through the wool? When she was stitching the tigers on the panel. So, something that is hard to pull, or something that is strange in poetry, that can be termed as symbolic. So here, ivory needle is here symbolic, okay? Because a needle cannot be that hard, that cannot be pulled through the wool, okay? Now here, it is not being pulled. That means the poetess here is trying to reflect that Aunt Jennifer is, suppressed, victimized, and is so timid and terrified that she continues to dread, her husband even in his absence. Okay? Tigers here, in the first stanza we have used here, the poetess has used the tigers as a, symbol to the men. So the same way, here the word chivalry is also used for bravery, honorable, as I told you. And chivalry was a term given to the knights. They were warriors. Certainty we have used for the confident or the dominating tigers. That reflects that the men of that patriarchal society, they were very dominating. They were considered to be supreme in the family. Okay? And thus, Now, from the world of green, dungeons, chivalry, world of green, certainty, and confidence, all these were male characteristics, Suddenly, in the second stanza, we have the fluttering fingers. We have, a very feminine, very meek characteristics in the second stanza, showing that the woman is generally considered to be weak, and she is burdened by the responsibilities of her married life. And the first line of the second stanza, Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering. Fingers fluttering is again here a literary device used alliteration. Okay? F fingers fluttering, again the initial sound here is fingers F, and F here in fluttering. So let me move to the third line. The massive weight of uncle's wedding band. See here, massive means, what do you mean by massive? Massive means, heavy weight. Okay? Massive here means heavy weight. And now, how can uncle's wedding band, how can that wedding band is that ring that is exchanged, okay, during the engagement time. Okay, so that wedding band, its weight cannot be very massive. It cannot be too heavy. It cannot be very heavy. As you know, a finger ring hardly would be of 4 grams or 5 grams. But here again, this is again symbolic here. What did I tell earlier? Something strange in poetry. Like how it was very difficult to pull the needle, that was also symbolic. Here also, massive weight is also symbolic. Uncle's wedding band, massive weight. It has been exaggeratedly used. Something that we speak in an exaggerative manner. There, this massive is here a hyperbole, a literary device, hyperbole used, okay? Because we are, the poetess has used here the word massive here. Massive means extreme weight. And how can a finger ring be massive? No, sorry. So this here massive is here again used in an exaggerated form. So that's the reason here the literary device massive word, here it is hyperbole used. HYPERBOLE. Okay, weight of uncle's wedding band. Okay, what do you mean by weight of uncle's wedding band? Tell me. See, generally what happens, women were, expected to become dutiful wives. Isn't it? At the heart of the poem, there is an image of a husband who most of the time is found to be controlling and frightening his wife. Isn't it? So, this lady, Aunt Jennifer, she finds the wedding band having massive weight. Massive weight is nothing but, she finds herself like a slave. Okay? She finds herself to be bonded. How a slave is, found to be most of the time, engaged in satisfying others or fulfilling the duties towards the family members. Thus, she was finding herself burdened due to that ring the entire married life. Wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hands. She still finds, tied down by that weight of uncle's finger ring or the wedding band. She finds herself that she has been bowed down due to the weight of that finger ring or the wedding ring that has been given by her husband to her. Now, children, this wedding ring, wedding band is what? It should provide, happiness, joy to the counterparts. Rather, here in this poem, Aunt Jennifer is, finding herself to be like a slave. She finds herself to be bonded under the restrictions and suppression and oppression of her husband. Okay? So thus, she feels that the burdens of her married life or the responsibilities of a married life, they are sitting heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. She cannot escape from that. Now, children, here I would like to tell you, as I told you, massive weight here is a hint of hyperbole is here, and seems over the top of a mere band. The poet is trying to reinforce the idea that Aunt Jennifer is not at all happy because she finds herself as if she is a slave after her. She has become a slave after her marriage. The work is a challenge despite the fact that it allows her freedom. Okay, now note the contrast between the first and the second stanza. First stanza is vibrant, light, and sure of itself, while the second stanza is uncertain, little dark, and there's lots of hard work she has to fulfill, she has to satisfy, the desires, wishes of the family as well as the society. Patriarchal power is apparent in the second stanza, whereas the first stanza highlights the creative skill of Aunt Jennifer. Got it, children? So this is what is massive weight and wedding band. Okay, this is again uncle's wedding band. It is a symbol used, wedding band here. Now let's move on to the next stanza. When aunt is dead. See now, what is the poet here trying to reflect? It says that even after aunt's death, her terrified hands will lie still. Aunt would not be able to release herself from the bondage of uncle's wedding band. She would find herself still ringed. Children, here listen carefully. The word ringed, R-I-N-G-E-D. Here this is a literary device, pun used, P-U-N. Now again, as we hear the word ring, we can imagine that, how the animals are trained, by the ringmasters to perform different activities in the circus. Okay? So, what do you mean by ringed here? Tell me, children. Ringed here means, as I told you, it refers to the entire life of a married life. This word ring is, a pun, a literary device pun, as well as it is also metonymy. It is also metonymy. METONGMY. Okay? It is also used as metonymy. Now, children, I would like to tell you here what you mean by metonymy. It is a part standing for an entire concept. Now, here, part standing for an entire concept means ring. We are talking about a finger ring, but actually, ring here reflects the whole patriarchal male society, the male dominating society. So, this is metonymy. METONYMY. Okay? Metonymy here is a literary device. Okay, children? And it is also a pun. Pun means a word having two different meanings. What is it? A word having two different meanings. Can you tell me? See, one is ring in her finger will sit heavily on her. Okay, this is one meaning of ring. The other meaning can be difficulties which will always surround Aunt Jennifer. So, ringed here also refers to difficulties which she would be, always surrounded all through her life. She would be surrounded with the difficulties all through her life. So, it is also a pun as well as metonymy. Okay, ring is also used as, for the entire concept. Okay, see here, when Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie still ringed with ordeals. What do you mean by ordeals? Ordeals are the bitter experiences. They are the bitter experiences or the hardships and sufferings that she has undergone, that she was mastered by. Mastered by means that, see her, she ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. Now, in this context, ringed here means we can just, imagine how a master, the ring master, tries to train the animals to perform a task in the circus. In the similar manner, Aunt Jennifer too finds herself that she has been mastered to perform the various tasks of matrimony, okay, under the authority of her husband. So, she had those bitter experiences of a married life. Ordeals means the bitter experiences of a married life. Okay, children? So, the tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing proud and unafraid. So, what here the third stanza says? even though if aunt is dead, but she would find her hands still ringed, with the uncle's wedding band. She would not be able to liberate herself or, relieve herself from those bitter experiences, those, horrifying ordeals that she had experienced all through her married life under the, authority of her husband, who had always mastered her. Mastered her means always dominated her and made her dutifully perform her duties. So, thus, the last two lines here reflect that, but the tigers that aunt has created. See here, children, there's an irony here, okay? But the tigers in the panel that she made, that she has imagined, to have a life, liberated life, just like those fearless, dominating, and chivalric tigers. She wanted to be just like those ferocious tigers who were free to prance around in the jungle and do whatever they like as per their desires. So, thus, what she says, the tigers in the panel that she made will continue to go on prancing. Even death would fail to release her of the chains of a struggle that dominated her. But the tigers that she created in the panel or on the screen, they will continue to keep prancing. That means she would be leaving those tigers as a legacy for the coming posterity. Will go on prancing proud and unafraid. Here there is an irony used here, children. What do you mean by irony? Irony is opposite of something expected. Okay, just the opposite of what you expect. So, tigers live forever. See, in the last line, the tigers that she has created will continue to prance proud and unafraid. Okay, because the tigers that she created were sleek, they were elegant, chivalric, they were honorable, they were brave, and they were confident tigers. Certainty means confident tigers, and thus they would continue to live forever. But she has created which tigers? The tigers that she has created are not living tigers, but rather they are non-living ones, immortal. See here. Next one is aunt is dead, but still not free from uncle's bond. See, from uncle's wedding band. This is again an irony here. Aunt is dead, but still she is going to find herself still bonded. Okay, she is not able to free herself from uncle's wedding band. Okay, now children, there's a word like, there's another literary device used here in this poem is personification also. What do you mean by personification? Giving human qualities to an animal or object. Okay? See, tiger here has also been personified in this poem. We have given the tiger, the human qualities like chivalric. Chivalry is given, it is a term used for the knights, KNIGHTS. In the ancient period, they were warriors who were very brave, who were very courteous towards women, and they have looked after their honor. Okay, next, there's an imagery used. Imagery in the poem, in the first stanza, imagery means pictures in words. Okay, like the bright topaz. See, once you read these words, topaz is a precious stone. So you can just think of it. They are the pictures in words. Denizens means they are, what are these? The natives or the dwellers. World of green refers to the forest. Tigers pace across a screen. Now, what are all these things? When you are reading out these contexts or these words, you are able to picturize. So that's what, these are all imageries. Now, men beneath the tree. So, as we read this context, we are able to imagine someone sitting under the tree, or they are waiting for the hunt here. Okay, children, I told you about alliteration. Now there's a rhyme scheme also used. I hope you know how to find the rhyme scheme. See the ending word screen. We have given here a green. They are the same sounds. So A, tree. We have given here B, certainty, tree and T. Again B. So what is the rhyme scheme of these three stanzas? A, B, C, D. Okay, it can come up like this. So when you find a rhyme scheme, you need to be very careful while finding it. Now children, one more thing. I just told you that Aunt Jennifer's fingers were fluttering. Okay, her fingers were fluttering. Why? Because she was terrified. She was terrified of whom? She was terrified of whom she was terrified? She was terrified of uncle, who is actually not present. His absence too terrifies Aunt Jennifer. See here, her terrified hands. Her terrified hands. Okay? See, her terrified hands can even be termed as, or they can, we can say it even reflects another device, literary device, which is known as transferred epithet. TRANSFERRED It means quality of a person transferred to certain object. Now here, terrified hands. Who is terrified? It is actually Aunt Jennifer terrified. So what we have done? We have transferred the terror of Aunt Jennifer to the hands. So that is why it can also be, termed as the transferred epithet literary device. Okay, children? And I told you about the other devices. Metonymy, I told you irony, I told you transferred epithet, rhyme scheme, alliteration, imagery, personification, hyperbole, I told you all, massive weight, voila, that's the hyperbole. Okay, so this is how the poem ends You know, it's like even death fails to release Aunt Jennifer of the chains of a struggle that dominated her. Okay, that is the wedding band of Uncle. She finds herself clutched. She is in the grip of suffering and terror. The suffering and terror or oppression of her husband, OPPRESSION, have crushed her married life. She has not relieved her of the bitter experience of her past. So it is ironical that she can create such prancing tigers. How can she create such prancing tigers when she herself is so terrified of her own married life, of her matrimonial life? Okay, children, so thus with this we end the poem. But before that, I would love to discuss few things more with you. I would love to discuss the answers here and the questions. What are the traits of the tigers that lend a contrast to the aunt? What are those qualities of the tigers that are in contrast to the aunt? I told you in the beginning, the tigers are fearless and chivalric. They are, certain. Certain means sure-footed. Whereas Aunt Jennifer is oppressed. Tigers do not fear the men as depicted in line 4. They are heroic. They conduct themselves in a manly fashion. Okay? They are honorable. They are daunted. So that's the contrast between Aunt Jennifer and the traits of the tigers. Okay, what is the connotation of the word denizens? The word denizens means residents or natives, as I already told you. The word implied that the tigers are majestic, they are graceful, they are unafraid, and they live in their natural environment, in contrast to the creator. The creator is who? The creator is Aunt Jennifer, who is very feeble, she is very weak and oppressed. Got it? Next, explain the implication of ringed fingers. As I just now told you, ring is also a pun. Okay? The word ringed has a double connotation. Okay? As I told you, one indicating not only the ring that sits heavily on her hand, but the difficulties in her life that will continue to surround her. Okay? Ring does not only mean that it is that ring is put in the finger, but whereas the weight of that ring is too heavy for aunt to hold, she is not able to bear the responsibilities of a married life, or the difficulties, or the problems or the struggles that, or the hardships that she's facing, they are unbearable to Aunt Jennifer. Next question. Explain the stark difference in the death of Aunt and the tigers prancing. See, the tigers are going to remain as a legacy till the coming posterity. Okay? And only seem to become stronger as the poem progresses. However, Aunt Jennifer fades away. By the time of her death, she has even lost her identity in the last stanza. Why has the poetess referred to Aunt Jennifer only as aunt in the end? A very important question, children. Why? Because Aunt Jennifer allowed herself to become subservient to her husband. So she lost the last part of her identity. She lost her name. By referring to her title at the end of the poem, the poetess reinforces her warning to women. So, with this, I end the explanation of the poem, and I hope, children, you have understood the poem, and I wish you good luck. Keep yourself safe, protected, keep using sanitizer, stay indoors. Good day to all of you. Bye.